Everyone, meteorologist Kelly Dobeck here, and I want to talk about the two major earthquakes that hit Venezuela Wednesday night and the dozens of aftershocks they are still dealing with and just how rare this was. So just after 6 o'clock, a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, which is a major earthquake, hit Venezuela, and then less than a minute after that, another even stronger 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit the area just miles apart, and then 30 plus aftershocks have been felt since then, especially along the northern coast of Venezuela. Those are some of the areas that were hit hardest. Dozens of buildings have been completely destroyed. So I want to talk about earthquake magnitudes for a minute, just to show you just how intense and how rare it is to get back-to-back major earthquakes like that. This is the Richter scale. Typically in Ohio, when we get earthquakes along that fault line, Lake County, it's like 3 or less. Those are minor earthquakes. There's hundreds of thousands of them every single year. You usually don't feel them and there's no damage. So getting two 7+ magnitude earthquakes, major earthquakes causing billions of dollars in damage, and unfortunately a lot of loss in life. And that's something we're going to see, unfortunately, climb as search and rescue missions continue over the next few days. But we usually get around 18 of these per year. But just to put this into perspective for you, the energy equivalent is 1 billion pounds of explosives, and they got that back to back in Venezuela in less than a minute. So 2 billion pounds worth of explosives in less than a minute, and then all of those aftershocks, some of them have been 4, 5 or greater. So this is a very rare event that they're dealing with, and cleanup efforts are going to be something that is going to be ongoing for a while.